Hello and welcome to this week's Sunday sit-down video, in which I will be talking about an idea inspired by Darian, who shared this in a Facebook Live video a few weeks ago. He asked if I could do a holiday gift guide. And at first I was like, okay, I guess I could, but you could really go back and look at my top 10 list for the year, or my top 10 two-player games, top 10 filler games, all those top 10 lists I've done on Sunday sit-down videos this year. And you can certainly do that if you want recommendations for those types of games. But today I wanted to talk about gift guides in a slightly different way. I'm going to jump around to a bunch of different categories, bunch of different ways to think about finding the right gaming-related gift for someone in your life. Sometimes these will be physical, tangible things that you can give to someone else, like a game. And sometimes they won't be. If you're familiar with the concept of love languages, the idea is looking at the person that you are giving something to and thinking about what makes them feel cared for and loved, and basically thinking about what they actually want instead of what you want to give them. I love that concept. I try to apply that to a bunch of different ways in my life, and I thought I'd apply it to the gift guide today. I should also say at the very beginning here that in terms of actually the love languages in particular, I am not one who really enjoys getting gifts. It's physical, tangible gifts, and so that's why I think I struggled a little bit with this video, in that and struggled in life a little bit too, because I know that some people really do like physical, tangible gifts, and so even though that isn't particularly exciting for me, I try to think about what other people want in those instances. If that's what's important to them, if that makes them feel loved, then that's what I might give them in the holiday season or for their birthday or whatever special time when I want to celebrate them. So let's start jumping around a little bit. I'll start with there's a bunch of different random categories here. So two things that you can consider when you're giving someone a gift is: are they a new gamer, a gaming-related gift? Are they a new gamer who is interested in games, or are they an experienced gamer? So if they're a newer gamer, I have a few suggestions for them. So there are three kind of suggestions here. One is Hanamikoji. Hanamikoji is my favorite two-player game. So this is, again, if you're thinking about a category for a two-player game, maybe you're giving a game to a couple instead of just a single person, you can consider Hanamikoji. It's also a great gateway game because it's really easy to learn and really easy to play multiple times. That's Hanamikoji. Another game that's really good for newer gamers, for gateway gamers, are cooperative games, because you can cooperate together, you can work out together. One of my favorites from this year was The Mind. I really have been enjoying playing The Mind this year. And I'll mention with The Mind, another category that I wanted to talk about was portability, like the size of the actual game. Some people really enjoy big, giant, big box games. That feels substantial to them when they receive a gift. Other people are more concerned about space or traveling with the game, and so you might consider the size of the game as well when you give a gift to a person. And The Mind is a great example of a smaller box game. And finally, my favorite filler is Fantasy Realms. So it's filler in that it's really short to play. It's easy to learn. It's easy to just bring new people in and play Fantasy Realms. It has a combo feel to it if you like building combos. So if you have someone in your life that maybe, this actually might venture into the experienced gamers catalog or category, because if you have an experienced gamer that enjoys like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone, they like putting together combos of cards, they might really enjoy Fantasy Realms. But it's also good for new gamers because it's so easy to learn. So that's new gamers. For experienced gamers, you might consider the weight of the game. So you might look for something that's a little heavier. For example, I have here Viticulture. So I am a publisher. I'm a designer. I'm going to talk about some games in this video because this is at least partially marketing for Stonemaier Games, the way I spend my time here. So one of our games is Viticulture. Viticulture is solidly a medium weight game. And the thing I always say, if someone's looking to decide if they're into Viticulture or not, you can talk about the wine theme for sure. So this is another category. You can look at what themes the other person is interested in. That's certainly entrenched and immersed in Viticulture. But also, you can look at the types of games they've played before. So if you have a semi-experienced gamer who's played Stone Age, Fresco, Lords of Waterdeep, other worker placement games, and they feel comfortable with that, they enjoy it, Viticulture is a great next step for those types of gamers. Scythe, which I don't have here next to me, but Scythe is another one of our games, which is another step up. That's a medium heavyweight game for people who enjoy engine building. I had something else I wanted to say about experienced gamers. Oh yeah, two other things. So experienced gamers. One thing that they might enjoy is a game that's hard to get. So a game that's out of print that they can't just go into their preferred local or online game store and find it there. You might need to hunt it down a little bit. That might make them really feel appreciated that you went out of your way to find a game that's hard for them to get. And my example for this is Yedo. This is one of my favorite worker placement games, actually kind of similar to Lords of Waterdeep as well. It's a heavier Lords of Waterdeep with an auction element. I love this game, but at this point it's out of print. It's pretty hard to get, and so it might take some hunting around. So this is something to consider as well for those experienced gamers that that might be looking for something that they don't have easy access to. Another thing to consider for experienced gamers are people who already have a big collection of games. Instead of adding more to that collection, or at least considering this, so consider, do they want more, or do they want to go deeper with the games they already have? And so there are a few different ways that you can go deeper. One is to look at products that the company produces for those games. So for example, if you know someone who loves Viticulture, you might get them the More Visitors expansion, or the Tuscany expansion, or the Rhine Valley expansion, or the Metal Coins. So you can go accessories or expansions. For Scythe, we have the Scythe Encounters. These come out in retail in December 7th. We're sold out on our website, but retailers will have them this week, actually, December 7th. There are many other expansions for Scythe, of course, the Rise of Fenris being the big one that came out this year. And you can also go accessories for Scythe. You can go metal coins, realistic resources, the board extension. And this applies to any game that has expansions or has accessories, whether they're made by the publisher or they're made by companies that specialize in that kind of type of thing, like MeepleSource and Top Shelf Gamer. Top Shelf Gamer sells a bunch of realistic resources that you can use to enhance your games, and they bundle them together. So if you know that someone loves Agricola, you can go to Top Shelf Gamer and type in Agricola, and they will show you a big package, a bundle of resources that you can get for that person to enhance their copy of the game. And I really like this in particular because I think there are many gamers that fall in love with games. They want to play these games many, many times than they have, but it still feels like a bit of an indulgence to actually enhance their copy of the game, to get the metal coins, the realistic resources, the custom insert from Broken Token. And so I think that's a great opportunity as a gift to indulge them in a way that they wouldn't normally spend money on something themselves, but they might still value it. Let's see, a few other categories to consider when getting a gift are look at the genre of the game. Like I mentioned, the theme of Viticulture. You can look at the player count. So when you're thinking about buying a gift for someone, look at the player count that they usually play with. Do they usually just play with a couple? I mentioned Hanamikoji a second ago. Do they usually play with a larger group? And if they do, you might want to get them a bigger group game, the game that can play up to 4, 5, 6 players, maybe even beyond. Another thing to consider is if the game is a one-off game or a campaign game. So you might have people who love in an ongoing story. I'll pull out another one of our games that has this, Charterstone. So Charterstone is a campaign legacy game. And so if you know someone that really engages in story in games, they don't just want it to be a one-off game that they play one time and they reset it and start over, a legacy or campaign game like Charterstone might be a great fit for them. And there are other great legacy and campaign games out there for you to consider. And that was going to segue into something else. Experience games. So you might, if you are giving a gift for the holidays, and maybe it's a family gift and you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people, you might get a gift that you can play and have a special experience with them while you're actually gathered together for the holidays. So an example of this would be an unlock or an exit game. So they're kind of escape room games that you play just one time and you have a memorable experience and then you put it back away. Charterstone is another example of that. If you have a lot of time, if you're going to be with your family for like a week, you could pick a legacy game or a campaign game and play that maybe once a day or twice a day, probably just once a day, over the course of the holidays. So you get that experience together with your family. And I really like this because it's not just playing a game, but you're actually making real memories with your family by going through these stories. And I think I had one other example of that. I just played it. What was the other example I had? Oh, Time Stories. Time Stories was the other one, because Time Stories is one of my favorite games, and Time Stories does have, well, you play it in modules, so you play it in like a 3 or 4 hour module. But the nice thing about Time Stories is you play that module, and then you leave the game with the person you got it for, and they can, if they enjoyed it, they can explore other modules, or you can make it a tradition. Every year you can come back over the holidays with your friends or family and play a new module for that game. Let's see. Okay, so let's start venturing. Well, wait a minute. I have a few other game ideas, and then I'll start venturing into some of these other categories that I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Okay. So this is another category. I talked about games that are hard to find. So another category of games like that are deluxe versions of existing games. So you might know that someone enjoys social bluffing deduction games, and they have maybe the Resistance in their collection, maybe a few others. Good Cop, Bad Cop is a great addition to their collection. And this is another plug for Stonemaier, of course. But the deluxe edition of Leaders of Euphoria, which isn't a Stonemaier game, it's made by Overworld Games, is pretty limited. I think they only have a few copies left on their website. So whether it's this game or another deluxe version of a game, that's a fun gift to give someone, to give them the nicest version of the game possible, instead of just the game that they would get from their local retailer, even though their local retailer may actually carry this version of the game. And last, somewhat similar to that, is just to go for a game that's... So if you have people that this goes back to the new game category too. If you have people who don't play a lot of games, but they enjoy some of the traditional like social party games, one game that I'd highly recommend for that type of group is When I Dream. When I Dream is a wonderful social, engaging. It's almost a party game, but it only plays up to 6 players, so it's not like unlimited like many party games. But it's a game where you're taking turns falling asleep, putting on an actual sleep mask, you can see it on the box down there, and trying to guess from the clues that people are giving to you what is on the card on this little bed miniature put together here. So it's a lot of fun. You have 1 minute to do that. So it plays fast. It's one of those more boisterous games that you might explore if you don't typically enjoy party games, but you know that the people that you're getting the gift to, they do enjoy party games. That's a good example of one to do it. I also really love Telestrations, but I found that Telestrations can get a little dirty and naughty, which I enjoy, but playing with family, it can be a little uncomfortable. So that is not one that I would play with my family, but When I Dream, I would definitely play with my family. I'll be bringing that home for Christmas this year. Okay, so I have a few other categories here. This is where I want to start to veer into the categories that don't necessarily involve a tangible gift, or at least in the way that you traditionally think of it. So one example of this is our game, My Little Scythe, or any game that has unpainted miniatures. You can see what the miniatures look like in My Little Scythe here. If you have someone in your life who's particularly artistic, you might get them a game like this that has unpainted miniatures, and also get them a painting set so that they can paint the miniatures. And you can even, if you have time, you can do that together with the person. Maybe it's a child, maybe it's another adult who really enjoys painting and arts and crafts. Having that experience of painting a game together with them and kind of putting your own special touch on the game might be a really special experience for them. So that's My Little Scythe, and other games that involve, I'll put this over here, involve painting in some way or some sort of artistic element. Another example of these other categories that I'm trying to talk about that aren't necessarily about giving a tangible gift, although this one would involve giving them a copy of My Little Scythe and then the painting materials as well. The other example is many gamers have games in their collection that they want to play, but they haven't. And one of the reasons they haven't is that they haven't learned the rules. And so that one of the biggest gifts, so this actually ties to my love language, which is acts of service. When someone does something that saves me time, would be to learn the rules of a game already in their collection. So you don't have to give them anything other than your time to learn the rules and then teach them how to play and play with them. This is this came to mind because this would be like the ideal gift for me if you wanted to give a gift to me for Christmas or for the holidays or ever. Learn a game in my collection and teach it and play it with me. I would absolutely love that. And 2 in my collection right now that fit that category are Legendary Creatures, which I've been really wanting to play. It doesn't even have that complex or long of a rulebook, but I just haven't learned it yet. And a newer one, oh, it's a big box. A newer one is Vindication. I got this one recently from Kickstarter. I haven't learned it yet. I've put it together, but I haven't learned it. So that's another one that I would love if someone else learned it and taught it to me. Although eventually, if that doesn't happen, I am happy to learn it. I learn a lot as a designer from reading other rule books. So it's important for me to do that. But that is an act of service to someone else in your gaming life. Another category here is and this is a non-game category, but related to gaming. Bring a special dish to game night. So if you are playing games with your friends or family over the holidays, bring food, bring delicious food, based on what the person that you're giving gift to, base it on their favorite food. Maybe make their favorite dessert or their favorite appetizer, or their favorite dish. So instead of making a food that maybe you would normally want, think about the other person and think, okay, I want to make my gift to you is that I'm going to make your favorite dessert for game night this week. Another category of the love languages is quantity time. Or actually, this is actually my addition to love languages. This isn't an official love language. But there's quality time in which you spend quality time with someone else. And I'll actually get to that category in a second. The other is quantity time, where you just spend a lot of time with someone. And a gift that you could give to your friend or friends for the holidays is just to host a game day. Rather than just being a short game night, 2-3 hours, make it a game day. Play the entire afternoon from lunch to dinner. We do this on a fairly regular basis in my group, but it may not happen all that often in other groups. And so having a big block of time to play games can be a real gift to people, because not only are they spending quality time with their friends and quantity time with their friends, but it's a time where people feel more comfortable playing a wide range of games that they know, they don't know, shorter games, longer games. I think this is one of the reasons that people enjoy conventions, where they can just go play games for a couple days. So you can kind of create that convention experience by hosting a game day. So the quality time example that I wanted to give is you might have a friend or family member who really, really loves a certain game, but it doesn't get to the table as often as they would like it to. So for the holidays, play that game with them. Suggest it. Offer that to them that you will play this game with them, the one that you rarely bring up, that they always want to play with you or their other friends. Offer to play that game with them. I think that can be a real gift for people who have a beloved game but just don't get it to the table all that often. And also related to that would be for you to connect. So a lot of the gifts I mentioned here are things, especially the intangible gifts, are things that you do to someone that you're able to meet up with in person. But that's not always possible. You might have friends around the world. And so one thing that you could do with a friend around the world is to use Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, or even a full AI digital implementation of a game like Scythe, and play with them across the world. So basically schedule a game with someone across the world to have that quality time, that connection with them, with someone that maybe you haven't caught up with in a while. And I should give a shout out to Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which is just went on Tabletopia recently. This is a game that actually requires a fair amount of discussion as you play, and so it's a great game to connect with someone who's across the world, because you're not just playing the game in silence. You would probably want to use Discord or something like that, or maybe just get together with them on the phone as you play so you can talk about it as you're playing. Let me see if I'm missing any other categories that I have on my little sticky note here. No, I think I hit them all. But I am really curious about your thoughts about all this. So I've talked about a bunch of different categories, ways to think about the other person and what they might value as you are either buying a gift or creating a gift, whether it's like the food idea or just learning a game for them. These different categories. And I'm also curious about you. Like, what do you value? Because I think the love language, the cool thing about the love languages is that it starts with yourself. You have to be introspective and think about what makes you feel loved. And then you're able to open up the kind of your perception to what makes other people feel loved, in terms of how you appreciate them. And so I'm curious about your perspective as well. So not just about these categories, but also what makes you feel loved and valued in the gaming culture, in the gaming world, especially in the holiday gift-giving season. Do any of these categories resonate with you, or is there anything that I missed that really makes you feel valued, whether it's an actual game or just time or food or whatever it is as related to games? I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. Yeah, thank you for joining me for this kind of weird Sunday sit down, but I really enjoyed talking about this topic, and I look forward to hearing your comments. All right, take care. Have a great Sunday.